Daniel Ricciardo is out at McLaren, and the obvious question is, where will he land next year? And right now, I want you to answer that question in the comments section below. I want to see your craziest theory, or perhaps your most plausible theory about where Daniel Ricciardo will be next year. But I thought this would be a great opportunity to drop some of the paddock gossip I picked up back at the Music City Grand Prix about where exactly Daniel Ricciardo might land in 2023 and why it's really beginning to sound like he will be an IndyCar driver next year. We will also talk a few other motorsports related topics in this video, but of course, the focus is going to be on Daniel Ricciardo and the continuing saga over at McLaren. But first, if you are not subscribed yet, what are you doing? Because we have been all over all of the motorsports drama, particularly this McLaren drama. Ever since it broke, we did like a 2-hour live stream. It was crazy. It was popping off. And now it's gone to court with Alex Palou. Oscar Piastri's situation might go to court, but it looks like now he's definitely going to sign with McLaren. I would expect that announcement very, very soon. And of course, as it all breaks, we'll be here. The best place for motorsport across the world on YouTube right here. So if you're not subscribed yet, be sure to do it and hit the like button while you're down there. So let's hit a couple of quick things you need to know before we get into the Daniel Ricciardo stuff. Number one is that Jeff Gordon will come out of retirement next weekend at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to compete in the Porsche Cup race with Ray Evernham as his crew chief, reuniting of sorts of the Rainbow Warriors of yesteryear. And the real reason is likely that it's a test for Jeff Gordon to kind of see how his road racing skills are for a Le Mans ride in 2023 in the Project 56 NASCAR Cup car that will be run, of course, by Hendrick Motorsports. And oh, by the way, isn't Jeff Gordon a part owner of that team? Yes, he is. And also, we saw perhaps another driver last weekend who will be in that car as well, Mike Rockenfeller, who raced for Spire Motorsports, but with Hendrick Motorsports Nation's Guard sponsorship on that car. Ryza Studios will be releasing their oval track expansion for their game Automobilista 2, along with oval wings for their 1990s and 2000s era kart cars. Now, originally, they were also going to release a modern, generic, unlicensed IndyCar with that DLC. But suddenly, and kind of unexpectedly, IndyCar themselves approached Ryza Studios about officially licensing that content. Very interesting, because this move comes on the heels of many, many rumors of IndyCar's unhappiness with the progress, or perhaps lack thereof progress, of motorsports games on the proposed or alleged IndyCar game that is coming in 2023. And possibly this is a sign that they are exploring options for either a replacement or a stopgap as they decide what's going to happen with motorsports games, and potentially Ryza Studios may be finding themselves in the catbird seat for that. I can definitely tell you that after speaking to a few sources the last couple of weeks about the status of the IndyCar game, it definitely doesn't look like it's going to be out in time for an early spring 2023 release like they had been claiming early. So I guess we'll wait and see. The stock price definitely doesn't look great for the future of the company. Daniel Ricciardo and McLaren announced today that they have mutually parted ways for 2023. Now, McLaren themselves cited performance reasons over losing that Formula One seat. But interestingly, according to Motorsport Magazine, Zach Brown did offer Daniel Ricciardo a seat at Arrow McLaren SP in IndyCar, which Daniel Ricciardo turned down. Now, we got to remember this for later, because we're going to be pulling that IndyCar offer that Zach threw to Daniel back out of the pocket. Now, while Ricciardo had 1 year remaining on his contract, which, good Lord, a lot of people have reminded me over the last few months, as I keep saying that Daniel Ricciardo's on the hot seat, and all you people don't listen to me, and it finally ends up turning out to be true, despite him having 1 year left on the contract. McLaren did buy him out of his final year. So Daniel Ricciardo is under no contractual obligation to McLaren in 2023, but he's already gotten paid. Now, while McLaren is very likely to soon officially sign Oscar Piastri, who under suspiciously similar circumstances to Alex Palou, who we are absolutely going to be talking about a bit later, when he was announced to drive for Alpine in Formula 1, only to deny that he had signed with them at all. And that is likely, of course, because he signed a deal with McLaren in Formula 1. That, perhaps more than anything, signed the end of Daniel Ricciardo at McLaren. Now, if you had asked for my uninformed speculation a couple of weeks ago, when someone would have asked me, like, what do you think Daniel Ricciardo's options are for 2023? And particularly if we're talking about him going to IndyCar, I would have said 0% chance Daniel Ricciardo is going to IndyCar. There were so many articles, especially around the Alonso Indy 500 thing, that Ricciardo was saying, oh, you know, I wouldn't want to do ovals, they're sketchy, XYZ, that I just said, you know what, there's no chance that he's going to do IndyCar. However, since then, I have been informed by a few folks that there is very much an opportunity that Daniel Ricciardo could be in IndyCar next year. So, when I was in the paddock for the Music City Grand Prix in Nashville, it honestly seemed to be spreading like wildfire around the paddock that Ricciardo would be heading stateside to race in IndyCar. I heard this from more than one credible person, and each person presented Daniel Ricciardo coming to IndyCar independent of me knowing that anyone else had told me that Daniel Ricciardo was coming to IndyCar. So that says to me that multiple people are kind of in on this, if it indeed is happening. The scenario was presented to me in this way. And remember, you know, this was 2 or 3 weeks ago, so things could have changed. But this is what I heard at the time. That Zak Brown would buy Daniel Ricciardo out from his final year at McLaren. Of course, this has now happened. And essentially what that would mean is that Zak would be farming him out, so to speak, to Chip Ganassi Racing in IndyCar as some sort of bizarre peace offering to the Chip Ganassi organization to make sure that there is not a lawsuit coming for them as well as Alex Palou. And I have to tell you that there have been rampant rumors that Ganassi will be taking legal action against McLaren, but curiously, no such cases have surfaced yet. Perhaps this has something to do with it, or maybe it's completely unrelated. Now, there have been some interesting developments on the Palou side of things as well, and I definitely think they have something to do with at least where Ganassi may be headed in 2023, and possibly where Ricciardo might land as well. Especially when you take into consideration that Daniel Ricciardo was offered a seat at Aero McLaren SP, which implies to me, I think it more than implies, that Palou is not at all a lock for an IndyCar seat at McLaren, even if he gets past his legal hurdles. And I also believe that Alex Palou is certainly not a lock for 2023 at Chip Ganassi Racing, and in fact, I think he's very much on his way out. Now, very recently, although it can't be quite verified exactly when, McLaren deleted any social media posts claiming that they had signed Alex Palou for 2023, though the original press releases can still be found on McLaren's website, albeit now edited to remove Alex Palou's photo, and it's the only such news release that appears this way on the entire McLaren website. Now, I'm not a breakup expert, but it sure looks like McLaren is distancing themselves from Alex Palou to me. Otherwise, why would they make it difficult or more difficult to find this press release? And quite honestly, I wonder if legally they have to keep that press release up, but they are deleting absolutely everything else that they can that points anyone to the idea that McLaren is officially announcing that they have signed anything with Alex Palou. Now, here's what I could see happening given what we know and what I have been told up to this point. if Daniel Ricciardo does indeed come to IndyCar, I don't believe it will be full-time. I do believe that he doesn't want to be on ovals. Now, Ganassi would make sense, but only if he's filling in for, say, example, Jimmy Johnson on the road courses. Maybe they split the schedule. Maybe Jimmy runs some road courses like Long Beach, which he likes, or Indianapolis, to get used to his crew chief before the Indianapolis 500. But I don't see him taking, like, for example, over the 10 car. I don't see him being a full-time IndyCar driver, at least in 2023. Especially because the rumor of David Malukas taking over the 10 car is a rumor that I feel is much more likely at this time, which would also, by the way, free up the space at Dale Coyne Racing for Linus Lundqvist, who looks like he's very much going to be the Indy Lights champion, to jump in over at Dale Coyne Racing. Now, of course, Oscar Piastri will take the Formula One seat, which says to me, and I will keep saying it, I've thought it for a while and will continue to say it, that Alex Palou, I think, has completely screwed himself. I would speculate, as of right now, that Alex Palou will not be racing anywhere next year. Now, maybe a Formula E seat, if he's lucky, with McLaren. But I feel like Chip is going to win in court, and Palou will essentially be at Chip's mercy to a certain extent. And what that may mean is that Felix Rosenqvist may actually keep his seat at IndyCar after all of this chaos, which perhaps would be more crazy than anything else. And what also is interesting is that the recent Racer Magazine report that said that Felix Rosenqvist didn't actually have a signed contract with McLaren, Rosenqvist himself denied. So, yes, Felix Rosenqvist does have a signed contract with McLaren, and you've got to think right now, especially with now Daniel Ricciardo out of the picture, that it is Palou versus Rosenqvist for the third Aero McLaren SP seat. And I can tell you, because I've got Pato on record saying this, and I know for a fact that the team members definitely want to keep Felix Rosenqvist on that team, and it doesn't exactly seem like, even if Alex Palou gets to Aero McLaren SP, that is going to be a particularly warm welcome for him. Perhaps what's best for the team is to keep things status quo. And if that happens, I also can't see Chip Ganassi keeping Alex Palou around either. I think that bridge is fully burned. Man, how crazy is this? And I think it's only going to get crazier from here. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been David Land on YouTube. Subscribe for more motorsport content, and I will see you in the next video.